deployed to England aboard the Royal Mail ship Queen Elizabeth, and serving in combat as part of the 8th Fighter Command from October 1943 to May 1945. The 365th Fighter Group, commonly known as the Hell Hawks, participated in operations that prepared for the invasion of the continent and supporting the landings in Normandy. An article from the March 2004 edition of Combat Aircraft stated Thunderbolt veterans who fought on the European continent in the final year of World War II feel that their contribution is forgotten. The article cites retired Colonel James L. McWhorter, who flew with the 365th Fighter Group, and said, "People don't know we were there. Air-to-ground action wasn't glamorous, and it attracted very little attention. But truth be told, at the time their role in the UK was never intended to be permanent, and unlike many of their comrades, no sooner had the airmen appeared than they were gone. Therefore, until this black and white film was discovered in a French archive, standard texts on the airfield at Beaulieu did not even mention the contribution of the 365th Fighter Group, but this does not undermine the crucial role the U.S. airmen played in the success of D-Day and Operation Overlord. It is easy to lose sight of the individual courage and bravery. One who gave much was Colonel Bill McCHESNEY. Bill eventually found himself with the 365th Fighter Group when it was activated in 1943, and was assigned to a Thunderbolt P-47C for his advanced training. When asked about his thoughts on first seeing a Thunderbolt, also known as the Jug, he remarked, "It was big all over, but he loved the plane because it was fast and powerful." The new P-47D made available for the fighter group in Europe included minor improvements in the fuel system, engine subsystems, with a jettisonable canopy. The 365th relocated to Royal Air Force Station Beaulieu in Hampshire, also known as United States Army Air Force Station 408, about 2 miles west of the village of Burleigh. Here the 365th continued pre-operational training. For example, they were instrumental in determining the maximum bomb load for the P-47, which comprised of 2 1,000-pound bombs and an external fuel tank on the belly rack. Maintenance and repair of the Thunderbolts were constant activities. "The ground crews were great," says Bill. "My crew chief was the best. I always let him tell me what he thought about our Jug's problems and airworthiness. I trusted him with my life." Aircraft crew chiefs were usually readying fighters at least an hour before a mission, which was often well before breakfast and sunrise. During this period, armament loads and ordnance were checked and engines were run to ensure proper oil pressure and magneto operation. The chief would then go to breakfast and quickly return and assist the pilot in taxiing by sitting on a wing or walking a wing tip, because the pilots could not see what was ahead. The crew chiefs were also at the runway to meet the airplane and greet the pilot upon the conclusion of their flights. After a briefing on damage from the pilot, the maintenance personnel would inspect the P-47 and quickly see to its repair and servicing in order to ensure it was again operational as soon as possible. Pilots posted to the RAF 2nd Tactical Air Force, equipped with Supermarine Spitfires and Hawker Typhoons, trained with the 365th at Beaulieu. Colonel Ray Stecker assumed command of the 365th Fighter Group in June 1944. A West Point All-American athlete, he learned to fly P-47s at Beaulieu, and in the post-war period eventually attained the rank of Brigadier General. The U.S. Air Force Reserve Major John Murphy was deputy commander of the Hell Hawks. He was a West Point man and a great leader and pilot. Murphy had no fear. Another leader was 2nd Lieutenant Robert Fry, who later rose the rank of lieutenant colonel in the 388th Fighter. He was described as very down-to-earth, with a good head. The 365th initiated combat flying with the Nineth Air Force on the 22nd of February, 1944, when Major Kofi downed a Focke-Wulf 190 over France, and Bill McChesney flew his first mission as a wingman during the first week of March 1944. Later that month, he went on leave to nearby Southampton. Over the period of the next 2 months, the 365th Squadrons gradually converted from the role of escorting 8 Air Force heavy bombers, such as the Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress and consolidated B-24 Liberator, to their new fighter bomber mission. During the transition, Hawks pilots attacked bridges, airfields, marshalling yards, and heavy gun positions in preparation for the Allied invasion of the continent. On the 6th of May, pilots from the 365th made a test attack on 4 V-1 ski sites to assess the effectiveness of very low-level attacks. 3 of the 4 hit their targets and inflicted enough damage to knock them out of action for several months with no loss of aircraft. This helped settle the debate on the most effective way to attack these sites, and helped to establish that low-level fighter-bomber raids were far more effective than heavy or medium bomber attacks. However, the bulk of the campaign was still conducted by the larger aircraft. The pace of operations was increasing. Excitement was in the air. On the 3rd of June, 1944, ground crews painted black and white invasion stripes on the Thunderbolts. By 0300 hours on the morning of D-Day, red-eyed crew chiefs were standing by their already serviced P-47s. The first flight briefing took place at 0 to 4:30. Shortly after dawn, Bill and 7 other 365th P-47s trapped enemy positions beyond Red Sector on Omaha Beach. In total, the Allies flew over 15,000 sorties on D-Day. On the 7th of June, the 365th, 366, and 368 groups flew 467 fighter-bomber sorties over 35 missions, with many squadrons flying over 4 missions on the same day. These missions were carried out south of the Aurora River to support the troops fighting on the Normandy beaches. Their aim was to protect the ground forces from enemy air attack and destroy any obstacles on the ground. The effective isolation of the battlefield meant that the Allied landings secured a beachhead 75 miles wide and 20 miles deep. By this time, personnel at Beaulieu were already packing for a move to France. It is said that the American pilots flew from the first ray of light to the last glimmer of night in support of their comrades on the ground. Taken from an article in Military Aviation Chronicles. William McCHESNEY passed away on April 23, 2017.